Today, we're going to talk about 5 different ways to get money for your startup. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. In my last video, I told you about my experience pitching a startup to Y Combinator and what this interview process looked like. Going to an accelerator is just one of the ways to get funding for your business idea. However, there is a few other paths you can take, and that's what I want to tell you about in this video. I spent the last 6 years in Silicon Valley working at such companies as Yelp and Airbnb, and I've seen both of the sides of the story. One side is a lot of startup founders who are building the next huge thing, and another side is venture capitalists who are scouting for their next billion-dollar unicorn. And this is what the Silicon Valley dream looks like. You come up with an idea that is changing the world, it has the potential to become the next billion-dollar company, it's going to be used by millions of people all over the world, or ideally actually billions of people. And of course, you're going to be raising money from huge institutional funds such as Andreessen Horowitz, Sequoia, maybe Founders Fund, and then you probably will get a TechCrunch article written about you. So the first way I wanted to tell you guys about is going to institutional venture capitalist investors to raise money for your startup. There are funds focusing on different stages of the company. There are funds focusing on early stage companies, so companies that don't necessarily have a lot of paying customers and you still don't have a lot of data to evaluate this opportunity. There are funds focusing on Series A, B, but there are also multi-stage funds that are diversifying their portfolio with companies of different tenure. And VCs are also making a lot of bets, and as a result, they're looking for a high ROI to cover their losses, to pay back their own clients, which are limited partners, LPs, family offices, etc. So as a result, they're looking for a very high return. And you would go to a VC if you know that you're addressing a big enough market, you know that you're going to be the next billion-dollar company, you know that you're going to be having like millions and millions of customers, and your business can be very scalable. For the money that venture capitalists give you, they take an equity percentage of your company. And to put things into perspective of what does it mean to make a good enough bet is this. If you invested $10,000 in Uber in 2010, that money would have been worth $124 million now. That is a huge return, and that is ultimately the return that VCs are looking for. And with taking money from VCs doesn't just come funding, but also comes support of the network, support in, hiring people, in making the right decisions, in getting introductions to potential customers for your business. Basically, you're not just counting on the capital, you're also counting on mentorship as a result. We can go more into how VCs evaluate companies, what does that process actually look like, what should a founder do to raise money from a venture capitalist, but I think that would be a topic for a whole different video. And if you guys are interested in hearing how this process actually looks like, make sure to drop a comment down below. I try to read all of the comments and I frequently answer them as well, so I would really appreciate you guys dropping your thoughts on what would be interesting for you to hear about. To go into pros and cons of raising money from VCs, it's a very strategic decision that you have to make because, as I mentioned, VCs are looking for a very high ROI, ideally 10 or 20x or more. So if you raise money from VCs, you're signing up for super rapid growth. Within 10 years, you're essentially looking for some kind of exit for your company, whether it be an IPO, an acquisition, or something along these lines. You are signing up for having someone else to report to and having someone else dictate the direction of your company, and you need to make sure that your specific idea has a big enough market, it is a big enough opportunity that could justify taking money from VCs. VCs, of course, give you the capital to grow rapidly, to get that access to mentorship, but if you don't have an idea that is scalable enough, that is a big enough of a market opportunity, it might actually be a bad idea to raise that money that will end up potentially killing your business and killing your company. So So let's talk about an alternative way to run your business. An alternative way to venture capital is bootstrapping your business. There is plenty of markets that have existing customers that you could charge for your product immediately. And here is a way to think about it. You're essentially running your company completely lean on your own capital, whether it be savings or you have a part-time job that you're fueling your business with, and you try to generate profit as soon as possible so that you could put that cash into growing the business further. And there's a few companies that have been very successful at bootstrapping their business and grew into billion-dollar corporations, such as GoPro, Spanx, and GitHub, just to name a few. What I personally like most about bootstrapping is that bootstrapping forces you to think of a profitable and sustainable business model right off the get-go. Having been in Silicon Valley for quite some time, it's a lot of the times disappointing to me to see how companies put profitability at the bottom of their list and they're kind of just comfortable burning through the investor capital that they've raised. They end up dying and going bankrupt or just having to fold because they burned through all of the cash, having not figured out how to actually make their business make money, make it sustainable, and ideally make it profitable. When we interviewed at Y Combinator and we didn't end up getting in with our pay-per-view live streaming platform, we did actually think of bootstrapping the business for the 6 months going forward and focusing as much as we can on making money and making it profitable right off the get-go. Another good things about bootstrapping is that a lot of the times these companies are actually resilient to a lot of crises. So right now, for instance, during the pandemic, we saw so many businesses with a physical space kind of crumble with their operational business model because they took so much investor money that they could not really justify the scalability and the growth with having taken so much external capital. So as a result, their business model wasn't as sustainable with all that external cash as they thought it would be. Bootstrapping certainly has its own pros, like staying in control, you're not giving up ownership of your company, like dictating the direction of your company, you're not reporting to anyone but your customers really, but it also has some cons. Sometimes you need that cash to fuel your startup, to fuel your business to grow rapidly. Another thing that VCs or accelerators that we're going to talk about later in the video, they're also providing you the support and the mentorship that you need to run your business. And of course, bootstrapping comes with a risk of burning through your savings, burning through that capital, and not getting anywhere with your business, and as a result, losing a lot of money. Accelerators are great as they provide high-pressure environment where you really have to focus on accelerating your startup. They also provide a support system because there are other founders in your cohort. They're also focusing on growing their business, and they also provide a mentorship network that is there to help you, again, build your startup. However, like with anything in life, you have to go into an accelerator with an actual action plan, an idea, and intention for what you want to get out of it. Be intentional about the type of an accelerator you select. Is this place actually going to fuel the growth of your company? Do they have the right partners in the network that will be helpful to you? Are they going to be spending enough time with you? Like, is it actually going to be worth it? Worth the time and worth giving away that ownership in the company? Another way to get funding for your startup would be to turn to angel investors, or angels, how they call them in short. Angel investors are accredited individuals that are out there to support founders or dig deeper into spaces they're most excited about, and also diversify their investment portfolios, kind of through this high-risk betting on potential ideas and founders. I'm actually an angel investor myself. I've recently made my first angel investment, and it's been a lot of fun kind of digging through what is it that I want to get out of it, what kind of founder and what kind of startup I want to invest in. And that's something that I want to continue doing more of because it's a cool process to support people's dream, and on the other hand, to learn more about what is the cool technology, what are the interesting companies that are getting started, and kind of, take a peek into the founder's journey from the other side. So angel investors typically write checks between $5,000 to $100,000. There are angels that are writing checks up to $5 million, usually typically focus on pre-seed to seed stage companies. If you do not necessarily think that your company will have this billion-dollar, multi-billion-dollar exit, but you still want to raise external capital, angel investors might be a good path to follow. Because from angel investor, you ideally not only get the money, not only get that check, but you also get their expertise, the support of their own network, and that's why you have to be really selective with who you choose to be your angel investor. And last but not least, I want to cover grant, or as they call it, free money that is just out there for you to take. But there are a few caveats, because this free money is not for everyone to take. There are special governmental programs. There are some corporate programs that are focused typically on environmental causes, on educational causes. They're supporting, for instance, now a lot of small businesses that were hit due to COVID. There are also grants that are supporting minorities in the space that are starting businesses. So grants could be a really cool way to fuel your business if you're working on some maybe cutting edge medical technology, or you're accelerating technology penetration in the educational space, or environmental causes, something along those lines that the government has an incentive to support, or institutions have incentives to support. There are a few different resources of where you can find. Grants.gov is actually one of them, but you could do a lot of research and find the grants specifically for your industry. You should keep in mind that grants are quite competitive. A lot of them are quite competitive, and sometimes when you start looking into application, you kind of might realize that that might not be the right path for you to go. So definitely take the time to research how you actually apply to those grants. And another con to the grant, even though, as I said, it's kind of free money, which is awesome, but a con would be that grants are quite specific in how you spend that money. So for instance, you get a grant because you're working on a medical company, and this grant is only supposed to go into you buying new equipment to, let's say, support your research. They're really, really strict about the money actually going to buying the equipment. You're not really supposed to, let's say, paying your contractors or employees. Otherwise, they could take away that money or even consider it fraud. So definitely be careful. But grants is another great way to find funding for your startup. Of course, there are other ways to get money for your business, such as raising them from your friends and family, or maybe taking a bank loan. But that could be a topic for a whole new video. I would love to hear your guys' comments about what other business entrepreneurial topic you would love for me to cover. But for now, if you've enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like and subscribe to this channel if you haven't subscribed yet. For now, I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day, a wonderful week, and bye for now. Thank you for watching.